Shalom, it's Rabbi Weiss. In this week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, we meet the character Abraham up close. And Abraham's story marks a shift from the universal story of humanity to the narrative of one individual who will become the father of Judaism. But Abraham's story still is very much a continuation of the saga we've read up until now, because he grapples with the same themes and crises that we see leading up to this point, including the absolute crisis of evil in our world. We see this in his story this week with the destruction of two notoriously evil cities, Sodom and Amorah, again on account of their cruelty to others. But this theme already appears only 4 chapters into the Genesis story, with the infamous murder of Abel. This first ever homicide, tragically, was a homicide between brothers, and it was a result of jealousy. Cain was envious of his brother's perceived favor in the eyes of God over him when he offered up his sacrifice. And so he goes out and kills his brother. Confronting him, God responds by saying, God says, "What have you done? The voice of the bloods of your brother are crying out to me from the earth." Now, the Talmud in Sanhedrin picks up on this strange pluralization of the word bloods and offers the following interpretation. Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Chia, says that when Cain was killing Abel, he was kept inflicting different blows and wounds until he reached his neck, at which point he killed him because he didn't know where the soul departs until he reached the neck. Now, at first glance, this interpretation might seem like a cartoonishly violent, brutal depiction with no particular meaning. But I think the message here is something profoundly important for us to consider, especially in our times here in the United States right now, which is this. The image here is almost a rabbinic fantasy of the innocence of these first brothers. The innocence that we don't even know how to kill, that he had to just keep attacking him until he suddenly was almost surprised by the reality of death, of murder specifically. And so the rabbis here can be, I think, understood as yearning for a world in which killing another person is seen for what it truly is: a freakish aberration from the norm and a violation of all which we should accept. If you read the Philadelphia Inquirer this morning, you might have also encountered an absolutely terrifying headline which talks about 6 children, all under the age of 7, being senselessly murdered in the last 23 days in our greater Philadelphia neighborhood. This is not normal. This is not something we should accept. And there are ways for us to respond to this crisis. And I want to invite and encourage everyone to attend this coming Sunday at the Newtown Quaker Meeting House at 2 p.m. at 219 Court Street, the anti-gun violence rally that's going to be held, of which Bethel is a proud sponsor. We're going to meet at 2, and the vigil will begin, the walk specifically at 2:30, and at 3 o'clock we're going to end at the Macedonia Baptist Church, again, 2 p.m. this coming Sunday. Because right now, we need to talk about common sense responses to a spiraling crisis, a crisis of evil, a crisis of violence, no different than the one of Cain and Abel, and no less tragic. The fact that we read these headlines and might not be shocked by them, only saddened, to me is indicative that this crisis has become so prevalent that we no longer can be surprised. And I yearn for a time when we too, like Cain, can be surprised when someone's murdered, because it's an aberration from what we ought to do as people. So at this rally, we're going to advocate for a continued conversation about how to improve, how to respond to this crisis, this public health crisis, really, when the guns that children are using when they go into schools or other assailants are AK-15s, AK-47s. We're talking not about taking away guns. We're talking about making sure they're in the hands of the right people with proper legislation. And so I encourage you to work hard towards a world where we can live in peace and expect that we can live in peace and truly be horrified when these things happen as the aberration from the norm that they are. I also want to remind us that this weekend is the 81st anniversary of Kristallnacht, and in the links below in the comments, I'm going to include a link to a really beautiful song I encountered this year from an Israeli artist, and there's a pretty incredible story there too. I'm going to try to link the background to that. It's in response to an incredible Belgian woman who saved a number of young Jewish children during the Holocaust, and a tribute in song to her, very extremely moving. And this is what we should work towards: the kindness, the bravery, the moral courage to stand up in these moments and be the voice of reason, the voice of love. This is truly our aspiration as people and the dream of humanity. And I'll end on a positive note, which is that we have what to look forward to, thank God. This weekend we'll be celebrating the bar mitzvah of Benjamin Perlberg, who'll be called up to the Torah as a bar mitzvah, and we're very excited. He's done excellent work, and we hope you can join us Shabbat morning to celebrate in this great simcha. May we only experience smachot, and may everyone have a wonderful, peaceful Shabbat. Shabbat shalom.